Hi everyone, Corey here from Tales from a Polk County Girl. And in this video, I'm going to talk about something that's might be relatable to you, or you might know somebody who does this. I know I tend to do it. It's how to handle and cope with overthinking. Now, if you are an overthinker or you know somebody that is an overthinker, and my hair is looking weird, um, that tends to stem from anxiety. And if you haven't been diagnosed with a generalized anxiety disorder or an anxiety disorder, or if you just feel anxious all the time, you might know what I'm talking about. It's when something simple, kind of relatively simple, happens and you can start just spinning and you get into this thought loop, and or it could be something quite serious and you don't know how to get yourself out of that thought loop of just the emotional what if, and how and what I'm going to share is one way I deal with it. um, I learned probably 6 or 7 years ago that when I get into an overthinking loop, that I need to find facts to ground me. I'm going to share two examples. The first of which really helped me figure this out 7 years ago, was when my grandfather, um, he went to the hospital. His appendix had burst. He had gone septic, and essentially, my brother and I, we were both in college, so it's not like we were kids. Um, we were left at home while my mom, my dad, and my grandma were at the hospital waiting mainly to see if he survived. He survived that. Um, and one thing I remember reeling from at the time was being told, don't worry about it, don't think about it, just don't worry. Which is the worst thing. It really is. It is the worst thing you can say to somebody who is concerned about something. Don't think about it, don't worry about it. It's like, no, that's just going to make it worse. And my dad came home at one point. We and I essentially cornered my dad. I said, Dad, just tell me what's going on. And that's when I had found out um, my grandfather's appendix had burst. He had gone septic. The surgeon that was operating on him, my dad knew the surgeon. My dad had a cyst from his head removed by the surgeon. I needed facts. And it really helped because my dad said, look, I know this doctor's done this on me, and if I had my choice of a surgeon, I would choose him. So, knowing that helped me kind of stop reeling and twirling, because just the way my brother and I are wired, we have to have something concrete, a fact, to hold on to, because if we just start swirling in this what if vortex, it will cause emotional meltdown. And my brother always looked to me for, okay, just how serious is this thing? So I knew I had to get myself to a point so that I didn't, because if I started to reel, he would. So it was more of, I had to get back to being that rock for my little brother. That being said, that's when I started figuring it out, that I needed facts. And over the years, that has helped me to the point where most recently, when I was sick, that hellacious flu was going around, I started getting better, but then right at the very end of it, I contracted bacterial conjunctivitis also known as pink eye. And because of how contagious pink eye is, and it's the one thing that I'm terrified of spreading around, I quarantined myself from my husband. We Lysol bombed this whole house. Everything got washed like 3 times. Was sanitizer and bleach and went in the dryer, kill this bacteria. And I was on antibiotic drops and everything. But because of what was happening, and because I couldn't do anything to calm myself, I couldn't knit because I was terrified of the bacteria getting on my knitting and then I'm reinfecting myself. I didn't touch my planner for 3 days for the same reason until I was past that contagious period. I essentially sat in a chair for 3 days to get me past that contagion window. And I just started reeling. I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? I spent those 3 days using my phone a lot, educating myself about pink eye and the various types and how contagious they were and how it spreads and blah, blah, blah. What's the gunk that's always in your eye when you wake up? What is that actually called? I learned a lot more about eyes and the ocular system than anybody that doesn't specialize in eyes probably should know. But it was looking up those facts and looking up information that helped calm me. And you can ask my husband because I got a little crazy and because I couldn't do anything. All of my de-stress and calm down methods I couldn't do. So the point is, if you are the type of person that overthinks, try to find a few facts about what you're anxious about. And it can vary from person to person. Are you anxious about an upcoming trip? Are you anxious about an upcoming medical procedure? What is it? Verbally talk it out with somebody. I jokingly say to my husband all the time that he and I take that in sickness and in health part of the vows way too seriously, because he has to listen to me talk when I get anxious, because I have to talk stuff out and he has to sit there and listen to it. And it does take me talking things out about 3 times before he's tired of it. And he's like, yeah, you've said this like 300 times already, Corey. We know the fact has not changed. The facts have not changed. I'm like, fine. But once I've talked it out a couple of times, I start calming down. If you don't have somebody to talk to about this, I saw it on Real World Road Rules Battle. If you remember Real World and Road Rules from the 90s on MTV, they had challenges where the various teams would get together. And one of the characters, one of the people would, in order to calm himself, or even either calm himself down or psych himself up, he would go to the bathroom and just look in the mirror. And I've done this too, especially if I'm starting to have an anxiety attack or the beginnings of a panic attack. I will go get in front of a mirror and just look at myself and go, what is it? And just start listing the stuff. And as I list something that's hyper emotional, and maybe not even really rational, I try to counter it with a fact. And just looking at myself in the mirror has helped. But that's what works for me. Sometimes you actually may need to interact with another person. I recommend do that, even if it's just calling somebody if you can't get face to face. If you also feel you need to, maybe see a therapist or a counselor about it, do what you need to do. But if you are an overthinker, like I am, I find comfort in facts. And so when I do start reeling, even about the same thing, like let's go back to the pink eye situation, I would just read. I kept the tabs open on my phone and on the internet app on my phone, and I would just go back and reread the information because that comforted me on some level, if that makes sense. Okay? So if you are an overthinker, or if you know somebody that is an overthinker, if you know somebody that is an overthinker and you are not an overthinker yourself, please be gentle with us. We know we overthink. And we know we're probably driving you crazy. Okay? So that could be a way to help a friend that is an overthinker. It's like, okay, what are you anxious about? What are you concerned about? Well, let's look at some facts. So, anyways, okay, this video went on longer than I expected it to. It went a little deeper than I thought it was going to go. I will put a trigger warning in the description, just in case some people have sensitivity to hearing about death. I know that does happen. So if this helps one person, I'm glad I filmed this video. So everybody have a nice day and find your facts.